Go, so we're going to move on. So welcome to Hollywood Matrimony's Martial Arts Movie Monday, the very first episode. As you see, I'm rocking my Show Enough uniform, kind of be in the mood. Eventually, hopefully we'll have some other karate, martial arts related things. If you don't know about what this show is going to be, I talked a little bit on our live show on Sunday. Essentially, it's going to be a little short show. We're going to dive into our own personal martial arts movie collection and talk about one single movie every Monday. It's going to be strictly martial arts themed. The movies will be mostly focused on martial arts films where the focus of the fighting and the story is martial arts. But we may even peek into some movies that are stuff like a martial arts actor showing up into the movie. We probably won't, unless it's just kind of this really weird thing. We're going to start kind of go in alphabetical order through my collection, just to zoom through it. The only time we'll deter from that is on days when there's some actual brand new movie like Master Z, the Man Legacy is fixing to come out. So that movie Shadow is fixing to come out. So we'll probably do the show on that specific one then. But the rest of the time, we're going to zoom through it, as well as talk about some random martial arts stuff. So you might ask yourself, outside of your vast knowledge of films and our shows and the things we do, why am I qualified to talk about martial arts films? Outside of me just saying I can do whatever I want because I'm a grown person, and I have this platform, and I have a movie review website, which already should say I can talk about any movie I want. I also have a background in martial arts. It is my full-time job. I am a 6th degree black belt in Taekwondo. I have crew in Muay Thai, a 1st degree black belt in Sogai Jiu-Jitsu, and a 1st degree black belt in Kobudo, as well as trained in some other things but don't hold rank. So I've teach martial arts full-time, so I have a deep, deep, deep passion for martial arts, even more so than just movies. But you put those two together, it's a pretty big deal. My instructor, Grandmaster Steve DeLuna, who passed away in 2008, was a massive martial arts movie fan, so as was my dad. We used to always watch Kung Fu theaters. We used to come on, I think it was like Saturdays and Sundays, and we'd watch all the old Shaw Brother films. So we'll talk about some of those on this show. So we're just going to dive into it. We may tell little martial arts stories. If something in the movie reminds me of something we happened in the movie, something happened in my actual martial arts experience or anything like that, we'll talk about that too. So if you want to hear about any specific martial arts film, don't hesitate to shoot me a message, post on the comments below, and let me know, because it may be the one I don't own, because I'm only going to talk about ones I don't own. Ones that I own, but it might force me to get out there and get something. So other times when we talk about, say, like a franchise, instead of going through every single movie of the franchise, we'll probably do a bulk show about just that franchise and the individual films there instead of Space Mountain. So let's move on. So our first movie we're going to talk about today isn't necessarily the oldest movie that I own, because, like I said, we're going through the alphabetical order stage. So before we get into the alphabet, the way I lay them out is we're in the numbers. So the first movie we're going to talk about is 2010's 14 Blades, starring Connie Yen. It's a martial arts epic type film. I don't want to say wushu. I always forget the name of it, or I can't pronounce it. WXIA, and I always mispronounce it. But it's basically a subgenre of martial arts films that focuses on martial arts in ancient China. So anytime you see one of the martial arts movies like this, that's got the big sweeping landscapes and the old period-looking pieces, it's typically from that genre of martial arts flicks. So 14 Blades came out in 2010. It stars Connie Yen. There's a cameo by the martial arts icon Sammo Hung, who does not fight in this movie, so it's a little disappointing, because when you know Sammo Hung is going to be there, you kind of want to hear, I guess I can hold this, hold on. You kind of want to see him fight. You want to see his stuff, because he's good, obviously. He's awesome, and because he's kind of the overweight guy, he always kind of sparked the everyman. But this is a Connie Yen movie. He's just there in kind of a little small part. It also has a young lady named Zhao Wei, I believe I pronounce it, from Shaolin Soccer. So you've another familiar face if you watch any of those kind of things. If you've never seen Shaolin Soccer, we'll be talking about it. Even though it's not per se a kung fu movie, it is. So we'll be talking about that. It's directed by Daniel Lee, who not only did, obviously, this one, he did the 1996 Jet Li movie Black Mask. He did the 2015 movie Dragon Blade that had a really weird cast. It's Jackie Chan, but it's also Adrian Brody and John Cusack. So obviously we'll talk about that at some point down the road. This movie is one of those very old school type um, epics, like I mentioned. It's got some great fighting in it, a lot of wire work. But what this is one of the kinds that I loved more, not so much for the fighting, which the fighting is great and there's a lot of it. It's not, in my opinion, it's not one of Donnie Yen's best fighting movies from a standpoint of just straight martial arts, because it's more about the weapons, which obviously 14 blades tells you that the blades are some important part, and they are. That's like they have like this box and it has 14 different blades, and they're all meant for different things, whether it's committing the suicide, seppuku, whatever, for failure, whether it's executing somebody for their crimes, whether it's for this, for that. So, and it explains to you at the beginning of the movie with like a little dialogue, voiceover, or subtitle thing that explains what each blade is for and why they have it. So it's kind of it's one of those weapons. It's kind of an awkward weapon to carry around. It's like a long box. It pops open and the different blades come out, and they use the different blades and whatnot. But sometimes that makes the most unique element to a story. Because one of the things I love about these kind of movies and this subgenre of martial arts is the creative weapons, the different things that they come up with that aren't practical. It's not the standard martial art weapon of just a sword or the nunchaku or the sai or a kama or three-sectional staff or the bow or spear or whatever that you normally see in your classes when you train and do whatever. It's going off the rails and things that they throw. And there's an old movie that we'll talk about on the show one day where they have like this cage and this blade on it, and it throws and it decapitates people and puts their head in the cage and it pulls it back to them like a boomerang. And then there's this weapon like this, and there's just it kind of elevates the idea of the story by taking a very simplistic martial arts idea and story and elevate it with some crazy weaponry. And that's what this movie is. There's some different, there's a little bit of a romance element. There's a little bit of the politics of the different empires and the people taking over each other and trying to betray each other and trying to find the kingdoms and whatnot like this. But you find out basically about his character, who is what's called like well, I'm looking, I always forgot, and I can't even read with my freaking glasses on anymore. It's a Jaya, that's what it was. Basically, Jin Wei, something like that. That they're these special forces, basically guys that are taken as orphans and trained and taught and whatnot. So anyway, so it's a good martial arts flick. It's more focused on the weapons than it is the hand-to-hand combat, but it is Donnie Yen. You can never go wrong, because even a bad Donnie Yen movie is still a great movie. He brings so much to martial arts flicks, in my opinion, where he can act, he can do the emotion, he can do the comedy. He does a little bit of. He has a movie called Enter the Fat Dragon that I hope gets released sooner than later, where he's in a fat suit and it's a big martial arts thing. So hopefully we'll see that sooner than later. But so it's a good little movie. It was released by Anchor Bay, who is now a defunct distribution company. I don't think they're around anymore. But you probably still find it. It's not that old of a movie. Obviously, because it's on Blu-ray. It's 2010, as I said. So if you like these kind of movies, this is a good one to check out. Xander's decided to join us on the show today. Kat came in for the Martial Arts Monday. But it's available now. It's got, like I said, some good fights, good weaponry. It makes me think about different weapon stuff. So today, since we're talking about swords, I'll tell you a little funny story. I was training in a class one time doing weapons, and I've done a lot of weapon training over the years. Like I mentioned before, I'm trained in Kobudo, which is 4 to 5 different specific weapons. But one of the many classes I went to, I also trained in some sword a little bit. And when I went into the class, I was a new student to the class. As the cat just walking by and does whatever he wants. He doesn't usually join. This cat usually doesn't even come out, so it's amazing he even exists. But normally, when you're doing the weapons and stuff, you're a beginner or whatever, they start off. I was already a black belt in Taekwondo, so when I visited a friend of mine's class, he was like, well, you're already a black belt, so why don't you just get in here with the advanced class? And so they give me these double swords, and we're doing a form. So they're teaching me their form, and we're spinning them and doing whatever. And part of the form, you had to jump up and do the splits and stab between your legs behind you, right? So like you're attacking a person behind. And I jumped up, did it a couple times, it worked fine. So I went home and was practicing it. had the movement down, and I was practicing thing. I had the spins down. I was doing everything, and I jumped up, and right when I went to do the splits and I swung the weapons down, I chopped it right into my big toe because I was using a real sword. So the sword went right in my big toe in midair, and then when I landed, the blade hits the floor first, which then caused my toe to basically go and split down the blade, and blood went everywhere, and I had to get some stitches. And it was a good lesson to say, maybe I shouldn't do it like that. Don't hit your toe with a blade. Huh? Anyway, that was my silly story that goes along with 14 blades. Thankfully, I still have 10 toes, but I have one that's got cut open because of it. So that's it for today. Like I said, it'll be a quick show. Each show is just going to talk about one movie. One movie, we may talk about a little funny story like this. Who knows? Today we had a special guest star for our first show with Xander the cat. He doesn't come out very often. He's trying to take over the show now that he's a star. Most everybody knows Vader, but you rarely get to see Xander. Be sure to check out our show tomorrow, Hollywood Matrimony's TV Tuesdays, starring me and the lovely Mrs. And we'll be talking about some various TV shows, old and new. Join me on Thursday for the weekly update, where we're talking about all the trailers and news and things like that have popped out through the week. And finally, on Sunday, we have our Facebook as well as YouTube live, Hollywood Matrimony live show, where we talk about, do the reviews for the movies that have come out that week. This week, we'll be talking about The Lion King and The Farewell, Iron Sky, The Coming Race, and whatnot. And beyond that, pay attention to our page on our website, where we post all the same news and trailers throughout the week. And already this week, I've already posted a few brand new trailers, and will be more to come, I'm sure, throughout the week. So be sure to join in. And that's it for today. So today's movie, 14 Blades. Be sure to, if you want to check it out, find it. Maybe I'll see if I can find the trailer and get it posted for you, or I'll share it out underneath this with a link inside the comments. And next week, we'll be talking about a brand new movie. I just was originally going to announce the movies every week, but I decided I'm not going to, because I want to tell you what's going to come. I want you to join me next time and see what happens. So be sure to, be sure to subscribe to this channel here, as well as to our website, so you can get in on any contests and good fun. And remember, always keep your hands up, look where you're kicking, and always stretch before. You don't want to end up pulling something that you might need later. Alrighty, talk to everybody soon. Till next time.